Deshaun Watson, right? So obviously the big news that came out was that he was going to get suspended for 6 games. He's completed all of the arbitration with the independent retired federal judge. She reviewed all the information, all of the interviews, the testimonies, conducted everything that the previous 2 grand juries had did. And in her findings, the thing that she said was, or the reason why she recommended 6 games, she said that it wasn't enough information or evidence for it to warrant anything longer than that, whether it be 1 year indefinite, which is what the NFL initially had asked for. So technically this is the 3rd set of, judicial, because we were talking about the 2 grand juries in Texas, and now this being a retired federal judge. It's essentially 3, different variations of our judicial system, due process playing out. And once again, the information was that it wasn't enough to say that he did anything definitively illegal. Not necessarily was it scummy or good guy, bad guy, things like that, but illegal, criminal. Still is no information. So with the recommendation being 6 games, even prior to that information being made available to all of us, the NFLPA and Deshaun Watson had said even before anything came out that they're not even going to appeal the decision. To me, at first, when I saw that, I was surprised. I'm like, man, y'all playing with fire. I know how the NFL works. They get janky when it comes to suspensions, when it comes to fines and things like that. So on the front end, before you even know what the decision is going to be, to say that, I'm like, man, you must really feel like confident in your case. You must really feel strong about your innocence, about you not doing something illegal, not wrong, illegal. There is a difference, right? So obviously when we get the reports that it's just 6 games, my initial reaction was, I understand the 6. I respect it, but I hate it, but I like it. And I'll tell you my emotions and why they're like that. The part that I hate about the 6 games is, it's like, man, you're essentially telling me that we can have a guy go through 3 different forms of due process, be cleared 3 separate times, and that is still not good enough. That's what you're telling me right now. When we see the fans, when we see the different media members that have these hard stances, hey, man, he never should play again. It's like, why? Not just the accusations, because accusations, as we talked about, is he say, she say, is word of mouth. And we could talk about the timing of it, how they all, materialized and things like that. But regardless of all of that, at the end of the day, 3 separate occasions, due process, something that we talk about, we hang our hats on arrogantly as a country compared to other countries that do not operate with due process, that do not operate with a judicial system. 3 separate occasions, this guy has been proven that, we can't say he's done anything illegal. We can't prove any of that. There isn't enough evidence. 20 something chicks, right? Out of all them, we can't find one, not even just a little bit. That's the part that makes me like really pissed off about the 6 game, because it's like, well, dang, what was the purpose of that? What was the purpose of the court system? What's the purpose of an independent arbitrator? What's the purpose of 2 grand juries? What's the purpose of evidence if the response isn't appealing to what we like? We're going to talk crazy about it and say, nah. It's like, bro, this is 3 separate occasions. I could even understand with the O.J. Simpson thing, right? Not to change it crazily, but it was a one-time thing, right? So you could say, hey, man, maybe he got lucky that day. But this is 3 separate occasions. I'm like, okay, you got lucky the first time. All right, cool. What about the other 2 times? All right, it was 2 grand juries. Well, this was not a grand jury. It was an independent person. Like, and that's the part where, like I said, I hate that part, right? The part that I do like is with the 6 games in terms of when you're talking about what it does optics wise. We know in the NFL, you're guilty you're guilty until proven innocent. That's just what it's like being a public figure. We understand that. And we understand that even though it's not always fair, we are held to a higher standard than most of the public. Right, wrong, and indifferent is just the cost of doing business. We understand that. So when you do anything to jeopardize the integrity of the NFL, and the key word was the integrity of the NFL, very similar to what Calvin Ridley with the Atlanta Falcons there, right? You're jeopardizing the integrity of the NFL. Calvin with the betting on games, it's a little harsher when you're talking about the integrity. Whereas for Deshaun, it was more the face of it, right? Because it's not saying that, hey, what he did can impact the game one way or the other. But if the representation of the NFL players is, oh, this guy is doing whatever with these women, or that's the allegation, it just doesn't look good.
You got media having to talk about
Absolutely.
this now. This is a topic of discussion. It's been for how long?
Yeah.
It's been a year and a half.
And we know this is a touchy subject, regardless of if you got daughters, a wife, a sister. Like, we know this is just, it's nasty to really have to go into this. So optic wise, it's like, yeah, man, we do have to discipline him for that. We do need to say, hey, set a precedent that, yo, just around the league. And this isn't nothing new. We've seen this plenty of times. Guys get suspended without being convicted. Guys get suspended without having anything criminal. So to me, I looked at this and I said, you know what? That's status quo. I like that right there. Cool. 6 games. They're not gonna appeal it. You take that, man. It is what it is. But then the part that I'm like, about is, I get the no evidence part. I get the part that we've had 3 separate trials and he's been found where it wasn't enough evidence. But in the back of my mind, it's always that where there's smoke, is there really fire? And that's the part where I'm just like, yo, if it did just once with any of them, then it's like, God, why is he here? But none of us were there. I'm not one of the females and I'm not Deshaun Watson, and I wasn't in that room. I wasn't there for all of the testimonies. None of us were. None of us have that information. So we're still just guessing. That's it. So it's like, man, I hate that I even think like that, but I'm just like, dang, that's a lot of people right there. Even though I'm seeing, okay, 3 official rulings here, it's still just like, yo, all right, it's not one of y'all, like, or all y'all lying, like, what's going on here? Like, that's the part where I'm just kind of conflicted with it, but that's kind of all my emotions balled up right there, and that's why I wanted to just get that out, you know?
Yeah, that was pretty well said. Yeah, so my reaction, I don't think this really has changed anything, right? Because the same set of information that has been given to the public has been here for the last, how long?
Since a year?
6 months?
Yeah,
there's been more and more information as we went, but I think some of this stuff really started to come down with what the grand jury and him getting cleared.
When they first traded
that
him,
was back in March. So I don't think much information has changed.
The trade happened first, then the grand jury was after that, if I remember correctly, right? No. He got cleared by the grand jury.
Right after. And then there was 2 more that popped up.
Yeah, and then he had the second grand jury. You're right. Yeah.
So, yeah, my thinking is, I don't know. What do you do? What do you do about it? I don't have this big, strong opinion one way or another, because you're right. Smoke their fire, scumbag. This feels weird. Yeah. But then at the same time, cleared legally.
But also think about the timing.
Do you want the NFL to be the one to determine if this guy should be going to jail or not? No, we set this up for judges, the grand jury. We have a whole judicial system for that. So he was cleared that way. Now
then he was cleared through the NFL's jury system, in a sense, with this private retired federal judge.
Yeah, I guess that's my point. What other way would you want it done? Because he's cleared societally, right? Yeah. And then I get the NFL doing their own process with it, obviously, because he's employed by the NFL.
Even with that is still hilarious. I'm like, so you're telling me your investigation is bigger than the government's investigation, right? Our judicial system's investigation. Twice they've said nothing, but y'all say, yo, we're going to do our own thing anyways. Even with that, it's like, that's fine, right? It's fine, but it still is always funny, dang, y'all more important than with,
And I think they're trying to do it.
Yeah.
In a way, like I said, how would you do it differently, where they have this third-party judge involved? Yeah. And now this shouldn't affect things because judges are supposed to be pretty impartial, but a female judge.
Yeah.
Right? So
she
came down with her decision, where in the past it was always just NFL, Roger Goodell, Judge Jury, Executioner. So, what way would you want this to be played out any differently?
Yeah.
You get what I mean? We have all these systems in place, and he's gone through all these systems. He's cleared societally, and then he goes to the NFL, this whole scenario, and then they decide 6 games. What else can you do, really? Can you stop him from being employed, using his talents?
I just don't get it. I really don't, man.
And like I said, you could still feel weird about it because they're is a lot going on here.
It is, but it's like you said, where do you draw that line? Where does the government not matter, or not even? I don't even want to say government. Where does our judicial system not matter in terms of when we decide public opinion this guy is guilty? And I just think about how many people we've seen be falsely accused for plenty of things, and we make them guilty in the court of public. In the come on now, in the court of public perception, court of public opinion, they're like, oh, they're guilty, guilty, guilty. Details come out, and then it's like, nah, he's not guilty. They're not guilty. Never no apology, never anything. It's always, well, what about? Well, what about? Well, with this, this, and this, and it's like, dude, this is 3 different times this man has had his life on the line. 3 different times he's had to go out here and prove his innocence. Like, at what point is enough enough? At what point do we say, bro, there can't be anything? Like, god dang, how many times we look at, like, how many times we gonna look at the same thing, the same amount of information, all these different, like, if there's nothing there, there's nothing there. And that's kind of like how I take it with this. It's frustrating though, because of everything that goes into this situation, you know?
I think the thing people are most upset about is the whole Josh Gordon getting suspended multiple years for weed. Now that ruling has changed a little bit now,
but it
too.
was different. Those are different policies. It's like, because I've seen people bring up, well, Calvin really got suspended a year, so gambling is more important, is worse than raping. It's like, bro, that's not accurate. You're saying foolish stuff. Calvin Ridley, what he was doing could potentially jeopardize the brand of the NFL. When you talk about why,
and it's directly related to the game.
Absolutely. When you talk about, if you have to ask yourself, hey, are they really playing to win, or are they playing to tank? Are they cheating right here? Are they trying to get up out of it? Are they point shaving? That would kill the NFL. You can't have that. That's why the NFL reacted how they did. When you're talking about what Deshaun is being accused of, that is very different. That doesn't deal with the on-field product. That deals with the perception, the brand of it, but is not directly impacting, nor is it even in question for directly impacting the on-field element. That's as simple to put it. Josh Gordon, same situation. When you're talking about the substance abuse policy, well, the NFL is a company that operates how they want to operate, right? So no different than any other company that's in the world, especially in America, right? You could be in a state where weed is free, where weed is legal, recreational or medical. If your company says, yo, you can't smoke weed, we tested you. Well, guess what, Deke? If you go and smoke that weed, what's going to happen when they test you and you fail? Are you going to be able to say, well, it's legal here, man, what's going on? No, that company is going to fire you. They're going to say, no, I don't want you here because you could not do what we asked you to do. So that's the difference when we're talking about why those guys got suspended as much or as long as they did versus Deshaun's situation right here.
Gray off the field, and this is the whole process kind of played out because of that.
Zeke is like this. You talk about Ben's situation was like this. It's not on field, but perception. It doesn't look the best. So you have to do something.
And the NFL wanted a year. Man. That's the other thing, too.
They did. They definitely did.
And they've set up this, I don't know when they did it, how recently this was to get this third-party judge involved. Yeah. But they wanted a year. So, I mean, if you want to complain to the NFL for not trying to come down hard enough, like, that was it. But then I'm sure more people are going to complain and say, like, oh, year for Deshaun Watson, that shouldn't equal a year like Calvin Ridley. And then week 1, whenever Deshaun Watson plays in like 2023, it's like he shouldn't even be out. Like it's I just think if you wanted to not see Deshaun Watson ever in the NFL,
you're never going to change your opinion.
Yeah.
And if you thought he was guilty day 1, clearly you're not going to change your opinion. If you're still hollering, yo, he shouldn't be out there. He's wrong. He's guilty. He's guilty. It's like, bruh, so you know more than 3 separate judicial processes. You know more than all that. You got more info. You got all the secrets. Like, that's essentially what you're saying when people are like, yo, he still should be suspended. He still shouldn't be out there. I don't care. You're essentially saying that you know more info than the private retired federal judge. I know the community, but I don't think we got a lot of retired federal judges in our situation, right? We don't have a lot of grand jury members in here that I'm aware of. We could. If we do, let us know. But if y'all saying that y'all know more info, y'all had all the facts laid out in front of y'all like how they did, testimonies, etc., and y'all found info, y'all found evidence, well, that's different. But if y'all didn't, what are y'all talking about? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Like, where is this information that somebody has to prove that this is wrong, that he was illegal, that he did something where he violated? Like, that's all I'm trying to see. Because right now we just have not had that. So it's like, how many times are we going to keep
You can read the accusation.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing. You could read the accusations, but at the same time, it is accusation.
It's accusation. Like, so you're going to take their word over his word. Either way, you're picking a side. That's all I'm saying. But the independent people, the grand juries, the judge, they've all had both sides, all the info, and they said, yo, he's good. So if they saying that, I don't have that information. Am I better than them? Do I know more than the 2 grand juries in the federal? Deke, do you know more than 2 grand juries in the federal judge?
Do I know anyone?
Do you know more than them? I mean, I don't know more than what they know about this particular case. So that's why for me,
not even this particular case, just probably in general, any of these cases that they're given.
So I'm like, yo,
it's not my career.
If that's what they're doing, they're the specialists, right? It's like, yo, when you want to hear Steelers content, where they come to us, right? We the specialists.
Number one.
Exactly. It's simple. So when you want to know about that, hey, I'm going to listen to the specialists. They have the info. They're privy to stuff that we're not. So how am I going to listen to them and say, nah, heck no, nope, you wrong. Like, on what basis? Where are we standing on? That's,
And I don't think it's being insensitive because
not, bro.
I think the thing maybe some people are missing is like, obviously, if this stuff is true, no one is condoning
Nobody would
this.
want them. We would say throw them
But that's
under
the question.
jail.
Is it true or not? So
right.
What else can we say?
So you're supposed to throw him under the jail even if he is innocent. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Are we supposed to crucify him even if he is innocent? Even though we've already said 3 separate occasions, if he is truly innocent, we still supposed to crucify him. We supposed to come up here and talk crazy about him. We still supposed to, every time you see him, spit him and do all that stuff, right? It's like, yo, what are we talking about there? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what's the purpose of even having a trial? What's the purpose of even due process evidence or anything? If that's the case, we just walk around if I don't like you, I'm going to just make up a lie about you, get some of my friends, we can all agree upon it, and now, hey, good luck. Like, if that's what we're doing, because essentially that's what y'all are saying. Not y'all, but the people that have that approach and that opinion. That's what
that's what could happen
Absolutely.
if this didn't take place. If we didn't have these systems in place. He
Like,
could have lost his career.
It would just be a witch
altogether,
hunt.
Be in jail, whatever it is.
It would be a witch hunt. And anybody that's read about witch hunts know exactly what I'm talking about. If you just say that's a witch and all of us say, hey, that's witch, what they do? They burn them, right? No due process, no evidence, just all of us agreed, yep, they got to be guilty. I think as a country, we've moved past that. That's why we have a judicial system. That's all.
And saying all this is also not saying that the girls aren't right in their accusations.
Absolutely.
We
We're not
just
saying
literally
that either.
don't know.
We don't know. That's it.
We literally
don't have
know.
a stance on this side or that side. You heard when I said I gave you 3 different stances. One supported him, one was absolutely against him, and one was right in the middle. It's like, bruh, how can you have a 100% hard stance on this situation anyway? Like, that's my thing. Like, for those that do have it, I mean, salute y'all. But for me, I don't know how you can have that based on the information that we know. That's all.
And if you get away from the deeper stuff, though, just like football field, good for the Steelers. Missing that first game.
Come on, absolutely,
missing
baby.
That Thursday night game.
You know we like that a lot, man. I do need my dog Josh Dobbs out there, though, man. I gotta have him. I gotta have my dog Dobbs out there. Now that I know,
I do feel like if Dobbs is there, you are rooting for Mason to be the starter, just for the storyline, just to see it.
100%, I would. Mason don't got to be. Maybe somebody got hurt going into that week, and Mason had to be the guy, and Dobbs. I just need that matchup for me. Can I get that? I just need that one, man.
Yeah, if Dobbs is starting, though, Dobbs has to be starting.
No, it's got to be Dobbs. It's got to be Dobbs starting. Yeah.
Because for us, then I just want the best QB out there.
Right. But for that storyline in
for
particular, for that game,
Mason going back Thursday night.
I need it. Back to the scene of the crime, but this time with Larry. Come on, man.
True. Yeah.
We need this one. He got help this time.
He converted Larry.
He got help this time. Hey, Dobbs, don't turn your back. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, man, that'd be so dope,
and
bro.
the Mason Dobbs chick relationship that was going on behind the scenes.
You're right.
Ramon Foster talked a little bit about it a couple weeks ago, but that's been out there. I think it was reported in like TMZ or some of these gossip blogs that I forget what order it was.
Stars,
I don't remember what order it was. I don't know who dated the chick first.
I thought it was Dobbs first, then Mason.
Ooh.
I thought it was, but apparently I ain't gonna get into it. I know about it, but
you might not too much.
Yeah. I ain't getting into it. Yo, why did we get this brought up? Why'd you bring up the chick? Oh, man.
We were talking Dobbs versus Mason. That's part of the
storyline.
storyline.
I'm literally thinking about everything like, I ain't going. We ain't going at all. That one. Yeah. I love that storyline. No, we need that. We need that.
Fun.
We need that.
Is that all we got in terms of the Watson news, really?
Yes, because I hate talking about this. Yeah. I don't want to. You think, bro, every time I see
I'd rather literally,
like, bro,
I would have rather just literally talked about that football portion that we just talked about right there for 2 minutes and then move on.
I absolutely hate whenever we got to talk about this, bro, I hate it with a passion, bro, because it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You know what I mean? Like it just sucks. So yes, man, let's just go ahead, baby. All right.
Yeah, because I think we provided like a bunch of the context,
Yeah,
the
man.
layers to it and stuff, but the root of everything where we got to the end of it was just
Yeah,
like we don't know. Like,
Yes.
we don't know. We haven't
And if
known
we
this whole
don't
time.
know, we
and he
can't-
was cleared legally,
Yeah.
and then went through this whole NFL process.
Yes.
The NFL wanted him for the year. They wanted to
Yes,
come down
man.
hard on him, but this independent judge
Yeah.
said 6 games. So like, what other process are you recommending?
Bruh, like put him on tie him up to the wall and stone him, and if he says he did it, then he was guilty. Is that what we looking for? Like that's what's like we're going, hey, put him on the cross, hang him up like Jesus, and then do it. Like I'm just trying to figure out what approach do we want to go with.